Tying up another Carrie Stevens pattern today from the Hilliard book. This is called the Gray Lady. It's a straightforward streamer fly, very typical of her style. It is a silver tinsel body with a belly of bucktail. The throat is just some white hackles. The wing is some Peacock Herl, some Gray Hackles, and this is a chicken breast feather dyed blue for a shoulder in it. This makes it a handsome little fly, fun to tie. That is the Gray Lady. I'll get started tying. I'm going to start the Gray Lady with my hook in the vise. This is a Partridge CS5 9X hook. It's a size 4. The Gray Hackles that I have for the wings on this are just a little bit shorter. The cape that I have has been pretty picked over, so because these hackles aren't that long, I just went with a little bit shorter, smaller size streamer hook. Obviously, if I need this on something bigger, like say a CS15 9X, which is a longer one, I'd have to get some other hackles. But I'll go ahead and debarb the hook. And the Gray Lady has a tinsel body. It's just a silver tinsel body. But I'm going to start with a Danville 210 Denier in white and lay down a base of thread here for fixing that tinsel to, and I'm going to do it in white just so that if I do get any gaps, they don't show up as much as if it were black. Now, if you're good at laying down tinsel for tinsel bodies like this, then by all means you could use a black thread, because you don't have to worry about that black thread darkening up the body at all. There's no tail on this. The tag is more or less incorporated in the whole body. I'm going to stop short of the end of the body so that I can attach the tinsel here. I'm using this is a Danville size 10 silver and gold Mylar tinsel. I'm going to attach this with the gold side up. As you can see, I have just a little bit of that that's going into the end of the body and the head space. To attach that, make it nice and secure, bring my thread back down. Now I can fold this over to wrap in the body. Prior to doing that, I'm going to apply a little bit of Dave's Flex Cement to the shank of the hook. This is going to just reinforce that Mylar tinsel so that if it snaps during the fishing process or anything like that, if it breaks it, the whole fly doesn't come unraveled. I have found over the years that it also helps from the standpoint that as you're tying this, if you get that first layer on and you're coming up to the end of that second layer and it slips out of your fingers, the Flex Cement tends to dry quick enough or cure quick enough that the tinsel doesn't come all unraveled all the way back to the beginning. So with that Flex Cement on there, I'll go ahead and start applying the tinsel. You just want touching turns. You can actually even have a little bit of a gap on this first layer if you want, because the second layer will cover it up. Now, when I'm doing tinsel bodies like this, if I'm fishing this fly and I want to tie a bunch of them fairly quick, I'll just do a single layer and anchor the tinsel at the rear end, put some Flex Cement on there and wrap it forward, because it's not as critical in terms of fishing the fly. If I am going to present it or I want it a little bit smoother for whatever reason, Then I'll do a double layer like I am now, because that second layer goes in and it tends to cover up any imperfections for the first layer, and it just looks much more uniform and much more even. This is sometimes where you can see I'm getting to the end of that tinsel. You get up here and flub up, holding that and passing it from one hand to the other, and it slips out. Fortunately, with that flex cement on there, it will keep that from unraveling too far. I trim away the excess. I'm going to bring my thread down, maybe about 2 eye lengths, a little bit more than 2 eye lengths behind the eye of the hook to tie in the belly. The belly is just some white bucktail. Gone ahead and selected some and stacked these. I stack them just because, again, if I'm presenting this, it looks a little bit better. If I'm fishing it, I'm not that concerned. I'm just trying to get some tied, but I do stack it for the videos because I think it just looks a little bit nicer. You want to make certain you get any of the short hairs out of there. You don't want this clump to be too full. Generally, kind of sparse is better. I'll secure that in, trim away the excess. Make certain I still have that right on the underside. Bring my thread forward to almost to right behind the eye of the hook. Now the head on the Gray Lady is black with an orange band. I'm going to attach my orange thread here and make a more or less an orange head as a base, and then apply the black thread to make the bands. I'm using a Uni 8/0 and a pumpkin. Attach my thread, winding it back over the white thread and the tag end of the orange. I'll secure the white and orange, and I can trim those away. Advance my thread back down almost to where I tied in the bucktail. Now I'm going to put in the throat. The throat on the Gray Lady is just some white hackle fibers. I'm using some schlappen for this. You want to tie those in so that they are about halfway down the belly. I'm going to tie one clump in directly on the underside here, advancing my thread forward just a little bit. I'm now going to tie in the 2 other clumps, and they are going to be tied in kind of on the sides, not totally on the sides, but generally the idea is that they are going to help to cover up some of the previous thread wraps without making the head too big. It is rather interesting because with modern threads as small as they are, I don't know that this technique is necessarily needed. I think that using some of the heavier silk threads a long time ago, it was probably more advantageous to tie. Carrie Stevens would tie in her bucktail further back and then build the throat forward, because then this whole area wouldn't bulk up too much. I don't know. I don't know that I 100% have that answer, and I'm still doing some reading and researching on just the techniques that she used and why. But I guess at this point that that is how the throats are tied in. I shouldn't say guess. That so far my research has shown me that that's what she did, and the primary reason was to cover up any thread wraps from previous tied materials. Shaping the head just a little bit, I'm going to secure the butt ends in, and now I'm in position to tie in the wing. The wing is made up of some Peacock Herl as the first material. I've got about anywhere from 4 to 6 Peacock Herls. You're going to tie these in about the length of the belly. The belly turned out just a little bit longer than it should have, but I'm going to go with it. During that Peacock Herl in, I'll trim away the excess, smoothing this off a little bit for the rest of the wing. The rest of the wing on the Gray Lady is 2 Gray Hackles, and they have flanked on the outside of those. There's 2 Gray Hackles, and then flanked on the outside is a chicken breast feather dyed blue for the shoulder and a cheek of jungle cock. The blue looks very, very nice with this gray color here. And blue is actually a very good color for freshwater species in that the blue wavelength tends to penetrate further in the water and the color shows up a little bit better. So it's actually a very productive color for freshwater fishing. I'm going to trim the excess rachis off of those, and then I'm going to tie in the wings on each side. These are tied in kind of in a 10 and 2 position, not exactly on the side, but not directly on top. You want these tied in so that they just run pretty much parallel down the hook shank. Then I'll take the other half of the wing and tie that in. Now, if you're not aware of it, these wings were prepped ahead of time. I have a couple of different videos. There's actually 3 different videos out there that show how I prep these wings. They're basically sized and prepped, and then they are glued together with some rubber cement. That way, when I tie them in, it's much easier to tie them in. Has the advantage that you can also prep your wings ahead of time. So if you're going to tie up a dozen of these, it takes probably about overall the same amount of time, but you can get those wings prepped ahead of time and have all of your wings done, and then just do the bodies and attach the wings as you go. So with those in where they need to be, I'm going to clean up the head here and shape this, covering up any butt ends, and then I will secure the orange thread and then put in the rear and front bands of black. This has the effect of, in the end, looking like a black head with an orange band. But if I were to make it all black and then put the orange band in, the orange band gets much darker. So this way, the orange band keeps its nice full color, and the black bands are in and looks like a black head with an orange band. I put a little wax on my thread right here. This will help the whip finish threads to grip and not pop out from underneath the whip finish. My black thread is a Danville 70 Denier in black. I'm going to attach this on the rear portion. I want to have an even band of black, orange, and then black, dividing that head into about thirds. If anything, I think I would rather have just a little bit narrower orange band than a wider one. But again, I don't know exactly what her preference was in that regard. And by the way, Carrie Stevens finished her heads off different than the way that I'm doing. More wax on my thread, help that whip finish. That way when I pull tight on this whip finish here and draw this down like that, and I pull on this thread, I get that thread under tension under there to snug it. Sometimes when you go to cut the thread right here, the thread will bounce back out from underneath those thread wraps. That wax just kind of helps it to stay underneath and all wrapped up. I'm going to put some head cement on here. This is a fly-tight head cement, a thin alcohol cement that will soak down into those thread wraps and secure the head of the fly, and then I'll come back. I'll put 2 coats of a clear lacquer on that, once again to help to reinforce and strengthen those thread wraps. So that is the Gray Lady, straightforward Carrie Stevens fly. The gray and the blue is a nice complementary kind of color in here. Obviously the gray has some blue in it, so just an interesting little fly. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Thank you.